crap, to make it look like it was unanimous, because I honestly think she may have been retained, or, at least it would have been close. And he can now go out and say that we're unified and we're past Cheney. Look, I mean, Kevin went too much on Donald Trump, resurrected him to life. And now Cheney has just been consistent. She said the same thing that, Kevin McCarthy said in January. She's just been consistent. And then to watch yesterday, I didn't even know Congressman Clyde was a congressman, but say that January 6th was no big deal. I mean, this party's really sick, and this party needs some real help. And if we're not going to stand up and be willing to put it all on the line for that, this party's not going to be around in the future.
So the Washington Post reported that the Republicans were a shocking 15 points underwater in core districts in the party, that they need to retake the House. How do you respond to the NRCC caring more about covering for an ex-president than helping?
This bad economic news, don't make the dear leader mad. That's what it feels like. I mean, look, if you're paying the NRCC dues to the committee, they need to tell you everything they have, including the bad numbers. Because these are decisions that members have to make. Trump just made Liz Cheney even more of a national figure than she ever was. She's brave. I've always admired her. But he now made her the leader of that. And I think he's basically created something that he should be very afraid of, which is somebody that's going to tell the truth. Because he has not outperformed Donald Trump in their district. Was like Matt Gaetz and people like that honestly got the same number as Donald Trump. If you look at any other member of Congress, they usually beat Trump by 2 or 3. And then people like me even beat him by a far bigger margin.
I said, please, I have kids. And he said later he thought about his 4 daughters and how they were going to go on without him. But as you listen to those congressmen yesterday in the Oversight Committee hearing, saying things like, well, these were just on January 6th, it was just tourists strolling through.
A base Republican voter. And every one of the people you trust is saying January 6th didn't happen and the election was stolen. We can't really blame them for believing that. I mean, yes, they shouldn't believe it. But when all their leaders are lying to them, of course there's going to be, I'm going to die and all that stuff. And it's terrible to see. But he's been a hero to speak so openly about it.
Absolutely. Congressman Casey Hunt's here with a question for you. Case.
Hey.
Congressman, good to see you. Liz Cheney talked to our colleague. I want to ask you specifically about one comment that she made. She talked about the January 6th commission, which, of course, you still haven't been able to find bipartisan agreement on. And Cheney says, I've been very public, this is her speaking, about the commission and saying that it needs to look only at January.
He said that when he talked to the president had no clue that this was happening and then did the video. Well, let's think about this. Supposedly he had also called a senator, told him to continue objecting. That senator told him what was going on, that, Mike Cheney, 3 and 4 person, in line of secession to the presidency, all within striking and murdering distance of a mob. No equivalency. And so I think it needs to be focused on what led up to there, who coordinated with who. And if some of my colleagues get in trouble, they should have thought about that before. No, we can't be the first generation that leaves our kids a country worse off than the one we inherited, or a political system worse off. We can take back this power. So vote in primaries. I know primaries stink sometimes, and we should reform the whole system.
وإذا تعلق الأمر بالرد على عدوانكم والانتصار.
Attacks. Joe Biden also added that he hopes that the violence will end sooner than later. Take a listen.
And I had a conversation with Bibi Netanyahu not too long ago. I'll be putting out a statement very shortly on that. Prime Minister of Israel, and I think that my hope is that we'll see this coming to conclusion sooner than later.
Biden also said his national security team has been in frequent contact with protecting civilians. The statement also added that Biden conveyed encouragement of a pathway toward restoring a sustainable claim. He shared his conviction that Jerusalem, a city of such importance to people of faith from around the world, must be a conflict has flared up yet again. Rockets are being launched from both sides. Israel has escalated its air campaign in Gaza after Hamás and other Palestinian groups from Gaza fired a barrage of rockets. The days-long outbreak of Palestinians from homes on land claimed by Jewish settlers. Erdogan has repeatedly slammed Israeli occupation of the West Bank and its treatment of Palestinians. Erdogan's deputy said that Muslim countries that do not display unity are effectively party to the conflict. On Wednesday, fear ignited violence on the streets of Israel. Cars in a synagogue were torched in the Tel Aviv suburb of Lod. Stones were hurled at several motorists on roads, and residents were beaten. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu urged for calm on the Gaza Strip and rockets being fired by Hamas at Israel. Despite the ongoing confrontations, an estimated 100,000 worshippers gathered at the holy site to perform prayers. 83 Palestinians, including 17 children, have died.
Esto es solo el comienzo, los golpearemos como nunca hubieran soñado.
Entre las fuerzas de defensa israelíes y el movimiento islamista Hamás en Gaza llevan 2 días y recrudecen a cada. Resultó completamente destruido tras un bombardeo. De acuerdo con algunos medios, ahí también habían bajas, mientras que Israel asegura que en él operaba Hamás.
No golpearon a un militante ni a un funcionario. Nosotros somos
preocupación real en todas las partes.
En medio de los temores de una guerra a gran escala, los líderes internacionales emisario para reunirse con ambas partes en búsqueda de aliviar las tensiones.
Incitada y sedienta de sangre, hiriendo a personas, dañando propiedades e incluso atacando los espacios sagrados judíos es
desde Palestina, como matar y confiscar tierras, demoler casas, desalojar a ciudadanos de sus hogares, bloquear Gaza con alambre de púa.
El ejército hebreo y Hamás han
y hubo además 2 linchamientos sufridos, uno por un judío, otro por un árabe palestino. El presidente israelí Reuven Rivlin.
Israel intenta matar a los comandantes de Hamás, destruir las instalaciones de las milicias aún en pie.
Los materiales también son notables. Israel asegura haber bombardeado un centro de inteligencia del grupo palestino Hamás. Según medios locales, este mismo domingo la franja de Gaza se podría quedar sin combustible para generar electricidad. Paralelamente, tanto, las Fuerzas Armadas del país elaboran una operación terrestre en Gaza. Pero ¿cuáles serían las consecuencias? Recordemos cuántas víctimas dejaron sucesos similares en el pasado. Una operación terrestre. Además, recalca que las acciones de Israel prueban que está alimentando las tensiones.
El entrar en este momento en una incursión sería una aventura terrible que provocaría el mayor aislamiento aún.
Denuncian ante la Corte Penal Internacional crímenes de lesa humanidad durante el paro nacional en Colombia. El senador Iván Cepeda y varias ONGs siguen en sintonía de RT.
Esta reforma no es una reforma de salarios, como debió de plantearse, sino que es una reforma del régimen de empleo público, metiendo ahora la mano política.